Hello everyone. Today we'll start with the first chapter of grade 10 science, that is chemical reactions and equations. So the first topic in this chapter is characteristics of chemical reactions. I will be underlining all the important lines and you need to write all these lines in your fair notebook. So we'll continue. Characteristics of chemical reactions. In a chemical reaction, the substances known as reactants are converted into new substances called products. The conversion of reactants into product in a chemical reaction is often accompanied by some features which can be observed easily. These important features or characteristics of chemical reactions are evolution of gas, formation of a precipitate, change in color, change in temperature, and change in state. That means during a chemical reaction you can observe all these changes, and if you observed all these changes, only then it is a chemical process going on. So we'll get into details. We'll see certain examples. So the first is evolution of gas. So the first example of evolution of gas in a chemical reaction is the chemical reaction between zinc and dilute sulfuric acid is characterized by evolution of hydrogen gas. So we need to first understand the reactions, and then we will get into the chemical equations a little bit later, or maybe in the next video. The second example is the chemical reaction between sodium carbonate and dilute hydrochloric acid is characterized by evolution of carbon dioxide gas. So you need to memorize the gases which are evolving. It will become much more easier when we will get into chemical reactions part or the chemical equations part. Now before getting into the second characteristics of a chemical equation, you need to understand that what is a precipitate. A precipitate is a solid product which separates out from the solution during a chemical reaction. For example, the reaction between potassium iodide and lead nitrate is characterized by formation of a yellow precipitate of lead iodide. This is the figure, or this is the diagram of formation of lead iodide. So lead iodide looks like this. The next example is the chemical reaction between sulfuric acid and barium chloride is characterized by formation of white precipitate of barium sulfate. Now we'll observe the change in color, certain examples in which you will see the change in color. First example is the chemical reaction between citric acid and purple color potassium permanganate solution is characterized by change in color from purple to colorless. Remember, you need to remember these changes. The second example, the chemical reaction between sulfur dioxide and acidified potassium dichromate solution is characterized by change in color from orange to green. Next is change in temperature. Now, certain examples in which you can see changes in temperature. You are aware that there are two types of processes. First is exothermic process and the second one is endothermic process. In exothermic process, energy is evolved, and in endothermic process, energy is absorbed. So the first example is the chemical reaction between quicklime and water to form slake lime is characterized by a change in temperature, which is rise in temperature, and this process, that is rise in temperature, is called as exothermic reaction, in which heat is produced. Second example is the chemical reaction between zinc granules and dilute sulfuric acid, also characterized by change in temperature, which is rise in temperature. So this also is an exothermic process. Another example, the chemical reaction between barium hydroxide and ammonium chloride to form barium chloride, ammonia and water is characterized by a change in temperature, which is fall in temperature. So fall in temperature, that means energy is absorbed by the surrounding, hence it becomes an endothermic process. The final change that you will observe is change in state. So the first example that you can see in your daily life is the combustion of reaction of candle wax is characterized by a change in state from solid to liquid and gas. Because wax is solid, water formed by the combustion of gas is a liquid at room temperature, whereas carbon dioxide produced by the combustion of wax is gas. Now obviously there will be many chemical reactions in which you can see more than one characteristics, that is more than one changes. For example, chemical reaction between zinc granules and dilute sulfuric acid show two characteristics: evolution of gas, that is hydrogen gas, and change in temperature, that is rise in temperature. Similarly, the chemical reaction between potassium iodide and lead nitrate shows two characteristics: formation of a precipitate, that is lead iodide, and change in color to form colorless to yellow. Now, after knowing that what are basically chemical reaction or how you can judge whether a particular reaction is a chemical reaction, then we come to a new topic, that is chemical equations. What are chemical equations? The method of representing a chemical reaction with the help of symbols and formulas of substances involved in it are called as chemical equations. So a chemical reaction that is taking place, you can express it with the help of formulas in a particular equation that is called a chemical equation. So a chemical equation, for example, this has three parts. One is reactant, the other is product, and this arrow represents that the product is converting into the reactant, in fact, is converted into a product. So these are the three important parts of a chemical reaction. In the next video, we will learn how to write chemical formulas of various chemical reactions. Obviously, you have studied it in grade 9, but you studied it here in grade 10 as well. And then with the help of chemical formulas, we will be writing chemical equations, and then we will be balancing the chemical equations. Thank you for watching the video. Thanks a lot.